Good afternoon, one and all. My name is George Morgan. Welcome back to Formula Sim Racing, the Academy Championship, Round 7, live here for the German Grand Prix here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. We're looking forward to this, sponsored by, obviously, IMB Raceware, Sim Labs and 3D Wrap. I am joined by my colleague and co-commentator, Cameron Rodger. Cam, how you doing?
Doing good, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this one. We haven't been to this circuit in so long. I think it's 7 years was the last time Formula Sim Racing came here. And it's a 36 lap race here today for the Academy guys. 5.1 kilometer track, and they have 2 DRS zones. It's a little tricky track. There's a lot of sort of medium speed corners. I'm sure once we get into the qualifying session, there's going to be a lot of fighting for that pole position.
There certainly will be. Nürburgring, a historical track built on history without a doubt. Obviously synonymous with F1 over the years, obviously not in recent history, as Hockenheimring was the last German Grand Prix circuit to be seen on live Formula One racing. But now we're going to get to see it here live on FSR, and I'm delighted to be bringing the action with you as well as Cam as well. Obviously, Driller Esports currently lead in the Constructors' Championship, 167 points to their name. A bit of a gap there of 38 points back to Royal Blue Racing, who are back in on 129 points. Seawolf, Net Race Motorsport, HME Invictus Motorsport, and HM Engineering follow. That is your top 5 for the time being. But leading the Drivers' Championship, Matthew Tucson at the moment, Cam.
Yes, it's an interesting one. He's been in this championship for so long, but he's never really challenged at the front. And finally this year, it's eventually working out for him. He's been consistently at the front of all of the races so far. We've had 6 races, and he's been there at all of them. He's been generally in the top sort of 5 or 6 for most of the races, and getting his first podium as well, his first ever podium. But he has not got a race victory, which is what he's going to be looking out for in the final 4 races of the season.
Yeah, well, they're actually out and about, I think, getting ready for the start of qualifying. We're very much looking forward to bringing you the live action here. As you can see, the circuit looking absolutely stunning. Not a cloud in the sky as far as I can see. Lots of blue happening, a capacity crowd to boot as well. And there's Matthew Tucson now going into the pit lane. HME Invictus looking to really stamp their authority on this German circuit, as we're now watching David Kalaksai. Apologies for any pronunciations here, folks. He's making his way around the next left-hander, as you can see, looking ever so smart around the next left-hander. A double left you've got to take there. That's the Mercedes Arena curve, incidentally, making his way around the next right. He's then got a straight to tackle, leading down to the Valvoline curve, and after that you'll be faced with Ford curve. Lots of curves here at the Nürburgring as he makes his way around the sweeping right-hander. Be sure not to catch the curve too much, as it could send you into an oversteer and sliding off the asphalt as he makes his way down towards Dunlop. And ahead then he's got the famous, well, the driver's famous, the Michael Schumacher S, which is almost like a very sensible, very shallow, almost left and right, or right and left, should I say? Well, it is left and right, heading up towards the Michelin curve and then the Warsteiner curve. But lots of opportunities here for overtakes as well here, Cam. I think we're going to be seeing lots of action here throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, especially into this NGK chicane as David comes now. You can brake so late. You're just going to see almost at the 50-meter board you brake, but do not touch those sausage curbs on the inside of each of those apexes, and come up to the final corner. And it really draws you in to take so much speed, but be careful because there is a gravel trap on the exit, opening up the DRS. And what is he going to do? He is going to go to provisional pole position on a 22.2, so not a bad start for him.
A very good start. I did join a few of the drivers in for a practice session earlier on, and the 122s definitely seem to be the faster of the lap times. I mean, generically, we see lap times across the board from 122s to 127, so I'd expect the guys on 127s are going to look to try and improve their prospects. Naturally, I don't think you'll even be able to entertain the top 10 without at least hitting the 123s, as we can already see Danny Robbins being in P10 at the moment with a 123.648. So credit to him. But naturally, I think due to these being early stages, we're going to be seeing a lot more faster times rolling in here at the German Grand Prix circuit.
And this is quite a tricky little track, so I'm sure we're going to see some of the better drivers in the field come out on top as we get towards the race session as well, and maybe some of the better teams. As you can see, look at that, at the top we've got Sergio Fletcher and Blake Checketts, who are both in the AFP cars. They have obviously stepped up their game quite a bit. That team, AFP, haven't had the best start to the season. But amongst them is Benjamin Jozinski, who has got 2 wins this season and they are the only points that he has got. He's DNF'd or not got points in all of the other races, so he is also one to look out for as well. So it seems that some of the better drivers are coming to the top of the field. As you see, we've got Kalaksai up there as well, Stoyan Barbakov, Jacob Reed, all guys who have been at the top so far this season.
I think another feather in the cap for Giolitsky in his 2 wins in his only finishes, should I say, that being at San Marino and especially Silverstone, almost similar circuits to that of the Nürburgring in a sense. Obviously, you've got the long straights, similar to the Hangar Straight and the Wellington Straight at Silverstone. You've got straights here between the Michael Schumacher S and the Michelin curve, and then you've got the one between the Borsteiner curve and Bogen, and then into the chicane curve almost before Coca-Cola, and then of course you've got the main straight, and also not forgetting the one just before Valvoline as well. So there's going to be lots of places for these drivers to actually nestle in and activate the DRS. I mean, naturally, they were only in 2 sections. That's the Bogen, and obviously on the main home straight as well, just after the Coca-Cola curves. There's lots of opportunities here for these guys to nestle in times, but I've got a feeling that this will play into the hands of Giolinsky, considering his form this season.
Yeah, he has been unbelievably quick when he's managed to get to the finish. For some reason, it's not just him. There's been a number of other drivers who have all got either 25, well, most of them have got 25 points because Jasinski is the only person to win 2 races this season. But all of the winners have pretty much only won a race and DNF'd elsewhere. This is why the championship is so wide open. And we're really looking forward to see what the drivers can do as we come towards the last part of the season. We're well into the second half of the year now, and we've got a few of the better races on the calendar coming up as well. I mean, next time out we go to the wonderful Zandvoort, the updated Zandvoort as well, and drivers who get used to these tracks the best are going to be the ones who eventually come out on top, considering how open it is. As Jacob Reed goes to second place, but Sergio Fletcher spins coming out the final corner, and he will not be improving either, as Ibrahim Khan as well. Ibrahim Khan has jumped up into second place, so another Seawolf looking good here at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, very, very good for Khan indeed. Only just over, or just under 2/10 behind Kalaksai. And I got to say, Kalaksai's having a good season too. P3 in the championship, 56 points, only 2 points behind P2 sitter Barbakov. And Kalaksai are obviously only having 1 podium finish, and that was at San Marino. So obviously he's looking to do that once again, and he's looking in good shape for it at this moment in time. P1 to his name right now. Obviously, a lot of things can change in the final 3 minutes. But naturally, they are restricted to only a minimal number of quali laps, only around about 8 laps, I believe, of qualifying that they've got to try and achieve their positions in. So naturally, that can complicate the issue slightly. And the time to beat at the moment, 122.295, as we now watch Luke Zach come across the line with a 122.915. And that'll mean that he sits himself into P9. So as you can see, the 122's really starting to cluster the top 10 now.
I would be surprised if anyone gets into the 121s, because the 22 itself is already a very quick time. So watching Jean-Michel Garnier coming around the final corner, where's he going to put himself? Unfortunately, doesn't improve on that one. But the drivers now are going to be coming around to start their pretty much final lap. Most of the drivers have completed 6 out of the 9 laps, which means they've got 1 hot lap left, as Dmitry Zarov there decides to back out. He was on a couple of personal bests, but obviously wasn't feeling it as he came into the final sector there. But it's quite interesting to see how open the times are. I mean, Kalaksai's got pole position by almost 0.2 of a second. Then it's even half a second back to only 8th position. So this track has seemingly spread the field out a little bit more. It is a little bit more tricky, as we said. Silverstone was so close on the qualifying times, but someone who's doing a good lap at in the first sector, Stoyan Barbakov, just done a purple first sector, and that is only just a tiny bit quicker than David Kalaksai. So Kalaksai also on a good lap. So we'll check them out as we see Farut come around the final corner. Is he going to improve up to 18th position for him? But what is Stoyan Barbakov going to do, currently doing purple sector times?
He's looking serious. I got to say, Cam, looking serious indeed. A 27.4 in Sector 1 is absolutely menacing. And once again, we could be in line for yet another faster lap. And indeed, he goes green in Sector 2, 33.499 as it stands. Sergio Fletcher is also there and thereabouts, a 27.590. So he's in the midst of a potential fast lap. Not as fast as Kalaksai in Sector 1, though Kalaksai has just gone fastest in Sector 2 with 33.280. That's a purple for your eyes to bear at this moment in time, as we now see Barbakov. P2 is all he can muster as he crosses the line, and David Kalaksai goes fastest again in Sector 3. Another purple sector indeed, a 122.052, and that sticks the Royal Blue Racing car conveniently and affirmatively on top spot.
0.3 of a second to Barbakov, 0.4 to third place Khan. That is a brilliant lap by David Kalaksai, almost getting into the 121s. What can Sergio Fletcher do? Can he get himself towards the front of the field? No, he's going to stay in 7th position for now. Yeah, what a lap that was by David Kalaksai, as we only have 20 seconds left, so I don't think there's going to be too many people who can challenge him for that.
No, I think in the dying moments of qualifying, we're literally a matter of seconds away. Squeaky bum time, folks, here at qualifying at the Nürburgring. And Jelinski is now making his way around as well. 33.47 in Sector 2 right now. Currently nestled in P4. Can he improve by any stretch of the imagination? Khan is currently ahead of him in terms of the grid, but they are well within a tenth of each other as he rounds the last bend, comes across the line, and it's going to be for Jelinski. It's going to be a 122.354. He joins the top row of the grid alongside Kalaksai, knocks Barbakov down one place, and he's going to be well chuffed with that, Cam.
Yeah, that is really good to get himself up there. Still such a big gap, though, to David Kalaksai. Just shows how good a lap that is. But just behind them in the next couple of rows, it is very close. Your double pole position sitter this year, George Chassipantelis, can he get himself up to the top? Now, it's all fourth position. Not too bad for him, but not quite as good as it has been for a couple of other races. Where's Palazek going to go? 8th position for the Drillers esports driver, and now we got Dmitry Zaharov backed out of his last one, but he's going to keep it going around the final corner. Currently 15th position. He's had a good couple of performances this year. Can he get further up the grid? Where's he going to go with his final lap? He's going to go up into, he's going to stay in 15th place. Actually didn't improve in that final sector. We got a couple of other drivers still finishing their laps. We've got Simon Frelich coming around the final corner in the Royal Blue car. So Royal Blue looking fairly decent today. Can he get himself up into the top 10? Yes, he's going to jump into 12th position. So not too bad for him. And I believe he was the final person on a lap. So that is the grid for the German Grand Prix.
What a phenomenal qualifying session. Kalaksai dominating affairs here. 3/10 clear at the top of the leaderboard right now. He's going to be well chuffed with that result, and that gives him a great opportunity to nestle himself yet another podium going into the start of the Grand Prix. He's got to be absolutely delighted with that. Jelinski, we were talking about him earlier on. He had form, 2 victories to his name on tracks like San Marino and Silverstone. And he certainly show his form here today. Very similar circuit, like I said before, long straights and tough corners to certainly negotiate around. But Barbakov, another name to look out for. He really impressed me. He's in P3 and certainly showed his pace when nestling in a fastest Sector 2. So maybe we can see a little bit more out of Stoyan Barbakov. Certainly it's going to be an interesting race here, Cam. And I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. But on the basis of what we've seen in qualifying, Kalaksai looks like the man to beat.
He certainly is, and one reason why he's really not quite so high up in the standings is because he actually had a nightmare of a race in Azure. He got spun around at the first corner, then had all sorts of issues, and he would be a lot higher in the championship had that not happened. But he's certainly one of the quicker guys here today, and as you see on the screen, he's got pole position by 0.3 of a second. And it is looking like it's going to be a brilliant race here. But while the drivers have a bit of a warm-up, we will take you through a little track guide with the one and only Mitch Hoyer. In a few minutes, we will run you through the start of this German Grand Prix.
Welcome everyone, this is the Formula Sim Racing. My name is Mitchy Hoyer and we are live for the track walk, for the race track presentation here at the Nürburgring. And we are delighted to take you around the track. So we're firing up the engine, leaving pit road on my home circuit, so definitely going to look forward to this race. The track has been rebuilt over the recent years, yet though it doesn't favour too much overtaking. Anyway, we're going to show you the bits and pieces around this racetrack, what is important, which is turn 1, the apex. Going through that hole, getting the compression of the car, that makes the car turn around, so you definitely want to hit that apex curb a lot. Going up through turn 2, going over the little crest here, car wants to become comes easy on the rear end and slides around a lot, going through turn 3 and 4. Very important in turn 3, you're going to see that on the quick lap, that you stay all the way to the inside. It's a very unnatural way to take turn 3, but you need to favorize turn 4 a lot more for actual track time benefits. Having done 6 and 7, we're going downhill to the sprint up towards Dunlop Curve, a tight, tight hairpin. Once again, acceleration and carrying the speed out of the turn is important, because 9 and 10 is the Schumacher S and is flat out all the way. Coming into 11 and 12, basically a carbon copy of 6 and 7, with 12 being way more important though on the exit, as we have the second DRS zone right here, going flat out with DRS wide open through the turn 13 kink, and that enables us to do to have a second overtaking possibility here into the narrow chicane. But it's a very tight move you do there if you commit for it. Anyway, turn 16, carrying all the speed as we're flat out here already over the big curve, DRS wide open, and across the line to start our track presentation lap around the Nürburgring into the first turn. Best overtaking spot on the track. As I said, you really want to be on the inside. Turn 2, lane on the apex, and then be careful when you go over that little crest here. Turn 3, as I've pointed out earlier, you want to stay all the way to the inside to maximize your exit through 4. As you can see, car wobbles around quite a lot, so definitely I need to get traction, need to planted rear into 6, 7, and that is flat out here already onto the way down to the Dunlop Curve, the lowest point of the track. Late braking, tight, white, and tight. Maybe gone a little too white here, to be honest. On the way, turn 9 and 10, easily flat out. Can enable a little overtaking possibility here into turn 11, but once again, you want to carry all the exit speed as we're flat out. Massive aerodynamic grip here on the back straight. DRS is wide open, coming towards the NGK chicane. Hard on the brakes, back into third gear. Want to be careful there with overtaking, but it's truly possible. And then the final turn, once again flat out already with a little bit of a moment here. DRS wide open and across the line. So that is one lap here around the Nürburgring circuit. So as you can see, not the biggest overtaking possibilities, but we will see how drivers will handle that on Sunday. 1400 GMT, the ACA guys take on the race before 1630. The pro race goes green, and 1900 the World Championship drivers are battling it for the win around the Nürburgring circuit.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you're back with me, George Morgan, and indeed Cam, Rodger as well. It's great to have you all on board. I hope you guys are all keeping well in the chat as well. We just had and experienced a great qualifying session. I got to say, very intoxicating finish. Kalaksai proving to be the man to beat. David Kalaksai notching himself a podium potential spot there on the front row of the grid for the start of the Grand Prix. It's certainly going to be an excellent race. We're looking forward to it here at the Nürburgring. Very exciting indeed. Just a quick tidbit once again to the sponsors, IMB Racewear, SimLabs and 3D Wrap. It's an honor to have you guys aboard. Naturally, be sure to check them out if you can as well. Don't forget as well, folks, to leave a like and a subscribe. Also, put your messages in the chat box. We want to hear from you. It's always great to have a great active community here in the live chat, just so we can all enjoy what's happening out on screen and obviously support your favorite driver as well that's going around the circuit. But Cam, let's go through qualifying again, because naturally lots of enthralling lap times were being seen out on the boards. A 122 certainly seems to be the stronghold really for the top 10, and certainly these drivers proved it out there today.
Yeah, 122.0, that is a very quick time. I would I would not be surprised if that's actually almost good enough for the pro division pole position that we're going to see in a couple of hours' time. But I'm sure the World Championship guys will get well into the 21s. But for an Academy driver, that is such a good lap. And as you can see, all these drivers 0.3, 0.4, even 0.6 seconds behind just on the first page. So that is quite remarkable that he's been able to set a lap time. And it certainly looks like he is the one to look out for today at the Nürburgring.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that Kalaksai is ahead by a comfortable margin, naturally, you'd imagine that a lot of these drivers are going to have to sort of pounce on him as soon as possible, almost trying to get a move done maybe within the first couple of laps, just to ensure that he doesn't get away from them as such, if that's going to be his pace going through to the race. Naturally, 3/10 would give him a mighty advantage over the period of laps that we're going to be experiencing here at this German Grand Prix. And it's certainly going to be very interesting to see whether they can get a stranglehold on his car. But naturally, we're going to be moving, as you can see, to next race on the 12th of July. Is going to be at the brand new Zandvoort circuit. Looking forward to that one, Cam.
Yeah, that one is going to be that's going to be really good. The new banking in the final corner, also into turn number 3 as well. It's going to be amazing to see. I don't think we've ever raced at Zandvoort ever, because I remember when I was making the results system and I was having to add the tracks to the list, Zandvoort wasn't even in the system. So I don't think Formula Sim Racing has ever been there, which is quite incredible, but it has been updated by Studio 397, and we are going to be there in 3 weeks' time on the 12th of July, and I'm really interested to see how that one's going to go out. We did a test in pre-season. We ended up doing a test race there, and that was on the old track, and it still proved a good race. So with this new updated track, I'm really looking forward to how it's going to go, and I think it's going to be a very good occasion there. As obviously we're not getting a Dutch Grand Prix in real life, so that will be a bit of a substitute for these drivers. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
It means more viewers at Formula Sim Racing. We can't complain, that's for sure. I mean, actually, that's what we want to see. Obviously, it's a very unique track, Zandvoort. The very mere fact of the undulations on the circuit. Naturally, it's not a flat track by any means of the imagination. You've got to tackle some of these real swooping corners, not to mention some real punchy tight corners that you've got to take as well, but also some really interesting overtaking zones that I think a lot of the drivers are going to need to try and identify before that particular race weekend. It's going to be very interesting to see how they negotiate that circuit, naturally, with very little knowledge of that track. I mean, obviously, it's not seldom seen with single-seater racing until now, so obviously it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers take to it. Will they take to it like a fish to water, or is it going to be a disaster? Who knows? Many question marks surrounding that one, but naturally that's why we all watch it. That's why we all love to watch it. It's exciting, lots of action, and we're going to be here to bring it to you live on stream. It's going to be very good indeed. So we're just literally waiting for the race to start, just quickly getting the grid in order. The qualifying results, so speak for themselves. You can see such a gap between David Kalaksai, as we have seen, 3/10 between him and P2 Benjamin Jelinski there, and you've got Barbakov there on the second row of the grid as well. He looked like he was going to go quicker, though not forgetting he has got a grid penalty. He will be starting from P11 on the grid, so you'll obviously be seeing that during the course of the race. Naturally, that moves George Chatsapatelis up into that P3 spot. Apologies for any of the pronunciations there. But Cam, just looking at some of these runners and riders, naturally it's been a very checkered season across the board. How do we see this race going? I mean, obviously Kalaksai probably the one clear view that we've got at the moment. Is there any drivers?
That is quite a remarkable gap he had in qualifying. So he's going to be looking good, but this track is actually an interesting one. It's a very similar lap time to Silverstone, where we were a couple of weeks ago, but because it's a shorter track, the laps are longer, and also because it's a bit more tricky track, the tyre wear is actually a bit more, so it's effectively just a longer race than what we had at Silverstone last time, which means a one stop, even for some of these drivers, might be a little bit difficult. And especially at the end of the first stint, I think those soft tyres are going to be absolutely screaming for some of these drivers, which could open up the strategy, and that is what they have to get right. So many races so far this season, not just in the Academy, but also in the Pro and World Championship divisions as well. The race has been won on the strategy. Who can have the best tyres at the best time in the race, which is generally in the last stint. So if you're having to pit early, that means you're either medium wheels or hards are going to be worn out by the end of the race. So I think, even though he's quite fast, we're going to need to see what his tyre wear is like, because that is always a big factor here.
Absolutely, it's going to be a real case of managing the car. Tactics are key, certainly around a winding circuit like the Nürburgring. Lots of hairpin bends, snapping corners, serious straights. It's going to really take its toll on that tyre wear, so it's going to be crucial that these guys manage their pit stops effectively. But naturally, that can change depending on where you are on the grid order, because naturally the strategies between the guys at the back of the grid and the guys at the front of the grid is going to be vastly different. That goes without saying. So it's going to be very interesting to see who benefits from their choices in terms of a tactics standpoint. And that's what we're going to be here to see and bring you live on screen. I got to say, Kalaksai for me looks like the one to beat. I know we keep saying that, but there's quite a few names that I've picked out. I mean, I like the look of Sergio Fletcher earlier on in qualifying. You had a bit to say about him before the sprint camp.
Yeah,
about Sergio. What are your thoughts on him going into this race? He's in the top 10, in with a chance, only just over 6/10 behind our current pole sitter.
I believe the reason why I was a bit surprised is because I believe this is his debut race, although he might have done Silverstone actually. So this might be his second race in the Academy series. I'd never heard of him before he signed up with. It's a horrible name to say. Apestio Force Polina, I think it is, AFP. When he signed up with them, I was a bit surprised, but he's coming in good, and his teammate Blake Checkett's there in 7th place as well. So AFP are looking pretty good here to get some nice points on the table, even though it is some of the more usual names ahead of them. But yeah, he in particular, when he was there, I think he was in 2nd or 3rd position in the first couple of minutes of the qualifying session. I thought that was quite good to see him up there. And I think he's got a good potential to get some nice points today, because in the Academy Series, points go down to 15, remember. So even if you're sort of 7th, 8th, that's still some nice points to the championship.
Absolutely. So make sure you keep an eye on Sergio Fletcher, folks. He certainly is one to really keep an eye on. This grid, though, full of fast races, as you can see. Naturally, we've spoken about Kalaksai, we've spoken about Sergio Fletcher, even Barbakov. I mean, Barbakov, despite having the grid penalty, like we say, maybe just needs to keep it maybe a little bit cleaner in order to try and maintain a potential a winning spot, really. Like you say, he's had his chances to win races. He's had a P2 at Azure, and he's had a P3 at the USA. So surely he's knocking on the door. Maybe the time is right for potentially a P1 for himself as well.
Maybe, but who knows how that is going to work out. This season has been completely unpredictable, and I guess that's one reason why it's been such a good season so far. I mean, Matthew Tucson, right? Albeit he's done a good season, but Matthew Tucson leading the championship is like unheard of in the previous seasons. He's never been consistently enough at the front to do that. But this season, I think since either round 3 or 4, he was pretty much leading the championship. So he's been there for quite a while, and with only 3 races after this one, we're going to get a really good opportunity to see who is really going to be there at the front. And he's got a nice little lead in the championship as well. He's got a few points to the next car, so it might be a season for him to finally shine. But today he is down in 19th position, so he's got quite a lot of work to do to get into the points today.
He has indeed, but naturally he's got a good points gap. 16 points separate him and Barbakov in the championship. Obviously Matthew Tucson on 74. Barbakov on 58. Only just behind him is Kalaksai. So we've got a very, very active championship battle on our hands here at the Nürburgring. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Not to mention Zielinski is there as well, 50 points to his name. Matthew Klipp is thereabouts as well. He's starting P10. He's on 48 points. Not yet to scratch the surface of a podium finish just yet, but he's got a P6 in Malaysia, a P6 in San Marino, 1 DNF at the USA, but a P5 at Portugal and a P5 at Silverstone. So he's consistent.
Certainly is consistent, and that's the main thing I think that's going to win you this Academy series, being consistent and being consistently at the front. And that is really the main goal. In the previous years of the Academy series, we've often seen a couple of drivers such as last year, Cas Rietveld, Jan Woznica, and even Henry Sinnick after he joined mid-season as well. Those 3 at the end of the season were really always the ones to look out for, the ones at the top. But this year's been so open. You just got to make sure that you're there. You're picking up the pieces when other people are falling behind. And I don't know why it's been such an unpredictable season, but that's the way it's gone, and it's certainly been entertaining to watch as we come for another 36 laps here today.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll be able to see what happens and what unfolds within those 36 laps. It's certainly going to be absolutely phenomenal. Can't wait for it at all. Please, obviously, don't forget to post your comments in the live chat below, folks. It's obviously very active at the moment. We've got just over, as far as I can see, 76 people in the live chat right now. So make sure you keep those messages coming through and give yourself a holler to me and Cameron as well. We want to hear what you guys have to say. And obviously very interested to see your perspectives and your thoughts on what's happening on circuit as well. Certainly lots of excitement surrounding the introduction of the Zandvoort circuit, which obviously I think everyone's excited to see a Dutch circuit like that to come through. I can see the hollers are coming through now. Aidan Millward with a holler. James Early with a holler, or a hello, should I say, not a holler. Formula Sim Racing, we are looking as well. Yeah, who do you think is going to win this one? I also want to see Driver of the Days as well. That's always a nice one to get hold of. I think we ought to have a grand vote for Driver of the Day in the live chat, and we can. I think that would be
certainly a good thing. Obviously, some people like to fanboy their teammates, but we'll keep that vote open.
Not biased at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination. No, I can understand. I mean, that's the whole point of the game. But the garage has turned around and said Riboli 19th to 1st. That's a big call, without a shadow of a doubt.
I mean, he's got a long way to go to do that, as we are moving to the grid now in the background, as the drivers will grid up and get going for the start of this race. But yeah, 19th to 1st, that's a big task, but I approve of your enthusiasm, but that is certainly going to be a difficult one to catch up all those positions.
Well, we've got Aidan Millward here saying Driver of the Day, Max Verstappen. Certainly got some Henry Sinak here saying that Jacob Reed will win. So a bold statement there from Henry Sinak. We've got Aidan Millward saying Juicem P1, I've got a feeling. And Joey MVK is going to be a Khan masterclass, he believes. And I hope we do see some masterclasses out there on track. Obviously, that'll give us a lot to commentate on and give me something to scream and shout about. I've already prior warned Cam about my shouting and screaming on track, as we now watch the drivers make their way around the Nürburgring circuit. As you can see, David Kalaksai making his way, leading them round. This is when they get to obviously warm up the tyres and get the brakes all set, ready for this very testing circuit indeed. You're going to need certainly adequate warm brakes and tyres in order to negotiate this circuit. The fact that the corners are just so pungent and just so tricky, you're going to really need all the help you can get. You can see Zielinski there in P2, eyeing up Kalaksai like a tasty kebab right now. And will he skewer him on this occasion? Let's find out. Cam, what are your thoughts on Zielinski? Like I said before in the qualifying session, certainly performed on the likes of Silverstone and San Marino. This looks like this might be his bag.
It could be. He's in a good position. The last few races, he hasn't been qualifying towards the front. I mean, obviously, I know he won last time out, but the couple of races before that, he was really struggling to get towards the front. But here, second place, he's only got one car ahead of him. If he gets a good start, this could be a really good opportunity for him. And just on a side note, David Kalaksai is doing such a slow formation lap here. He is taking it around really slow. He doesn't want to hurt those tyres at all. And also another thing to mention is, where is Stoyan Barbkov? Well, he had a grid penalty from some collision in the previous race at Silverstone. So he is now starting down in 11th place. But because he qualified inside the top 10, he has to start on those soft compound tyres, which means he's basically last of these soft runners. As you can see on the tower, most of the drivers underneath are going for either the hards or the mediums, apart from Thomas Garcia at the back. So he's going to have to work his way up past the guys on similar tyres, otherwise he's going to be held there and possibly not be able to get towards the front.
Well, I've got my eye on as well. It's Simon Frelick, or Simon Frelick. He's in P12 at the moment on the hard tyres. Now, that gives him a good advantage. If he can just keep his head above the water and stay ahead of Luke Zak and Ina Kone, who's in on the mediums, the next latter driver on the mediums in P14, he might have a good shout as well. Obviously, the strategy that he's enforcing could potentially mean that he lands himself on softs towards the end of the race. So let's see if that strategy pays off, because naturally it'll be quite telling. Like we say, strategies are different all across the circuit, depending on where you are on the grid. It makes all the difference in the world, folks. So make sure you stay tuned to what's happening out on the circuit, but keep an eye on Frillick, because I got a feeling that he's going to be in for a very, very good race weekend indeed. Currently in P12, and that, like you say, the hard tyres, if the strategy works towards the end of the race, he could very well be up there.
He certainly could. And those hard tyres, they may not be the quickest tyres out of the three, because obviously they are the hardest, but they are very, very consistent. And especially with these Academy cars, they've got a lot less fuel than because it's a 60% distance, means they've got 60% fuel tank. So they are going to be very nice indeed on those hard tyres. Going to be very consistent. They're probably going to go well into the high 20s, and then they can bolt on a set of softs and be ultra quick at the end of the race.
Well, there we go. The cars are just about to line up now. The back of the field are just beginning to enter their grid positions. And here we go. They're just about lined up now, folks. The race about to get underway. Brace yourselves in the chat party. It's going to be good. Just waiting for the lights to turn red. Here we go. Third light, fourth light, the fifth light. And it's pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go. Kalaksai gets away well, but on the inside, Jelinski. Look out, he's trying to tap in to the back of Kalaksai there. But you got Chip Pantelis there in P2. He's made his way up. What a start there. And that man has made his way into the second place off the grid. Jelinski back in P3. Khan in P4. Chenex there as well in P5. Not a lot of damage done to Kalaksai at the front of the grid, though. Lots of smoke rising. Brakes locking up as they make their way around the next right-hander. But Cam, a very sensible start indeed.
Yeah, that seems to be pretty good, and David Kalaksai did exactly what he needed to get off the line very well, and it hasn't been so good for Jasinski. He's dropped down, into third position. Chassis Pantelis getting up there into second place. That has put him in a really good position for later on in the race as well. Stoyan Barbakov has made up one position past Danny Robbins as well, and he's now looking at another person who is Matthew Clipp in 9th position as well. But it seems all drivers got through that fairly nicely. I think pretty much everyone is going. Thomas Garcia making up some positions as well on those soft tyres in the background, but I think everyone is going pretty nicely, which is good to see. No collisions just yet.
No, but Kalaksai has already said, I'm going to send it, folks, because already 6.5 tenths of a second ahead of Chip Pantelis, who's currently in P2. Jelinski, a second behind the top two, really starting to career away now, though Kalaksai really starting to make a move because he's already broke into the 8 tenths mark. He's certainly showing that he doesn't want to hang around. He wants to really get this job done as soon as possible. But like we said, still a long way to go, folks. Only lap 2 of 36. Amazing we got through those first laps incredibly quickly, and already we're seeing the grid starting to string itself out. As you now see there, Max Huss there getting really, really close to the front end of, well, the back end of Frelick. In behind Tucson making moves as well, but you got Frulit there as well. Chris Farut there making his way on the inside for Esport Performance Racing Team, but on his outside there as well. Let's not forget, really making a move there is Pescutio, who's now in P18 for Royal Blue Racing. Royal Blue Racing really lining up with some tasty drivers here today. Kalaksai obviously being one of them, currently in P1. But as you can see, lots of battling going on across the circuit. 30 drivers for us to talk about pretty much. And certainly going to be some tasty battles in prospect, Cam.
Yeah, Barbakov already getting up into 9th place, so he's made up 2 positions after only 1.5 laps of the race. And this is really what he needs to do. He needs to slowly pick off the cars one by one, as he potentially is a bit quicker than these guys, having out-qualified them, but there's not DRS just yet. He needs to wait until the end of this lap. Oh, I just heard a crash in the background. I think Jean-Michel Garnier has gone for a bit of a crash. He's got an off-track next to his name, so we can go and have a look to see what's happened with Jean-Michel, although he's actually, there we go. He is on the medium combat tyres coming up through the Michael Schumacher S. Is he going to run into the back of one of these cars? I think he is. Yeah, he's just going to run into the back of the HM Engineering car, and he's going to have to come in for pit repairs.
That's rare for loss of a front wing as well. Means no downforce. He's got to really, really trail his way back to the pit box.
He missed the pit entry.
He has missed it, so he's got yet another lap to go around with no front wing. That's going to cost him a hell of a lot of time, as Eric Chandra now in P22 for HM Racing. Let's not forget him behind him, Furlick. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he ended up dropping back quite considerably off the start of the grid. Remember, he was in P12. I feel I gave him a little bit of commentator's curse there because he's dropped back to P23. Blake Checkitts, though, has risen through the ranks, P5 currently, and chasing Khan for the Apostino Force Polonia team, now making his way round the next right-hand. As you can see, all these cars pretty much grouped together, but leading the way without question, Kalaksai, 1.3 seconds clear of Chimpantelis now as well, so he's looking in extremely good shape. But as things stand, Blake Checkitts currently trying to close the gap on Khan, 9/10 separating him. But let's not forget Reed, he's only 3/10 in behind Checkitts.
And DRS is into play now, so this is where you're going to see what are they going to use. Are they going to use their quali boost mode? Are they going to try and put it all on the line now, or are they going to wait later in the stint until the tyres start coming off a little bit? You see DRS opens there, and Checkitts does not have DRS for the car ahead, so this means that Reed is going to get a fairly simple pass down the inside if he can make the brakes, and yes he has, so he's going to make that apex nicely. That is another position for Reed, and Checkitts actually just lost the DRS there, which is not what you want to do when you have got a nice train of cars, otherwise you're just going to be overtaken like that.
No, you cannot afford to miss a single DRS activation zone, certainly. Remember, the DRS activation zones are between, well, pretty much on the Ad Van Bogen straight, and then afterwards you've got the Coca-Cola curve, which is the final corner leading into the home stretch. That is when the next DRS activation point becomes available. We're riding on board there, as you can see, with Blake Checkitts, P6, after losing that position, P5 to Reed. Just looking there, you can see Cosmo Pascutio. He's got his own little battle happening here, as you can see there. P19 having a going wheel to wheel around that left-hander there as they make their way around the next right. And indeed, Adam Rady coming under severe pressure. Oh my word! And that's a wall collision and certainly some damage. The tyre's got on the front right-hand side. Adam Rady, that is absolutely unbelievable. And he has indeed paid the price. P27 he's been relegated to, but also out of the race. Absolutely devastating scenes for the TVR Blue Voss Motorsports team.
Oh god, yes, that is not what you want to do. That corner is actually so difficult for getting on the power, and that was just a little bit too much from Adam Rainey, and he is going to be out of the race along with Thomas Garcia, his teammate as well. So that is not a good day for TR Blue Voss at all. And also Jean-Michel Garnier is actually still going around, but he has actually come in for a new front wing, I believe, finally, after missing the pit entry on his first time round.
Absolutely. Robbins as well. I'm just having a look. Danny Robbins, P11, making his way up to Matthew Clip. Now, Clip, I've got to say, I favoured at the start of the race. He actually looked pretty solid, but I've got to say, give credit where credit's due. Robbins really closing the gap. Just over half a second away from that man. Drillers Esports obviously topping the Constructors' Championship as things stand, but he's in with a great chance of making a position. Barbakov, who was at the top end for HM Engineering, now relegated down to P9. Unbelievable, obviously after the start of the grid, but he's dropped, he's actually gained a place if you consider the penalties he had in place, which is phenomenal. But Ferrut now, and we've got another man out. That's Max Hurst that's on the side of the track there, and is down to P25. Lots of incidents happening on circuit. Maybe people really struggling to manage the corners around the Nürburgring. We'll just have a look at that instant replay, folks, as he made his way around the next tricky left-hander. Maybe suffered a little bit of oversteer, perhaps. I'm not sure. As he makes his way around the next right, you can see a bit of a ghost glitch there. A car just appeared in front of him and took him straight out. I'm not sure what happened there, Cam, but looks to me like a bit of a ghosting issue.
Yeah, and Matt Tusum got involved as well. He had to go off onto the right. Did he have to make contact? Yes, he did. Matt Tusum made contact with the wall. So I think if we come back to live, I think he's not going to have a front wing. Although, he does have a front wing. So Matt Tusum, your championship leader, already having a bit of a bad race. He's now going to have to come in for some repairs, and that is going to really annoy his strategy. But fortunately, he's on those medium compound tyres, so he can go to set up the hards and try and do 30 laps to the end. But he's already lost a bit of time.
I'd imagine that's exactly the strategy he's going to pick out. The hard tyres obviously being the tyre of choice in this situation. Blake Checkitts obviously losing quite a bit of time now on Reed. That's gone to about a second now. So that will mean it's going to be very difficult for him to close the gap, certainly if he's out of the DRS point. As you can see, Reed has already made terrific progress on Khan, currently in P4. And you've got to keep an eye on this man because Reed, like I tipped before the race, he looked pretty solid in quali. And once again, he's showing his prowess here in lap 6 of 36 here at the Nürburgring. As you can see in the distance, you can see Khan there going around this next left-hander as they make their way up towards the next DRS activation point. And indeed, it's going to give Reed a very, very good opportunity to close that gap in between even more. And you can see him looming up ever so much now. Ibrahim Khan certainly knows that this man is relentless. Reed all over him like a nasty rash right now. 0.4 of a second between these two. The gap is closing and closing and closing as they make their way around the Coca-Cola curve in towards the straight. Now this is a great chance for Jacob Reed to make a move here for Drillers Esports as he makes his way up through. Here he comes, left-hand side, makes a move on the outside, going into into Hug Hagen, should I say, as he makes his way around. Jacob Reed moves into P4. What a zealous overtake there from that man for Drillers Esports. They're going to be well chuffed with that.
And he's making moves, isn't he? Jacob Reed is getting up the grid. He's got past Blake Checkers a few laps ago, and now he has got up into a 4th position. But he has dropped off a little bit. He's now 3 seconds behind Jasinski, so he's got to do some pushing now to try and get on the back of that podium. But race winner of Portugal is now looking like he's in a good position to get a podium here, but he's still got a bit of work to do.
Certainly has, but I got to say, he's showing certainly some good moves already. This is exactly what we want to see, certainly here at the Nürburgring, given the fact that there's so many areas to overtake on this historic German circuit as they make their way around. Already Reed capitalising on his opportunities here, but Danny Robbins is another one who's in for a potential overtake here for Drillers Esports. You can now see in P11 he's chasing Matthew Clip 0.2, just over 2.5 of a second, separating those two now as they make their way around the next sweeping right-hander, and very soon they'll be commencing lap 8 of 36 as they make their way around the next right. That's the Advan Bogen corner, heading into the NGK chicane, which is a very, very sharp left-right, and very soon it'll be the Coca-Cola curve once again, and that is when the DRS will be activated. But let's not forget, Matthew Clip will have DRS as well as they make their way onto the straight. But in very close and personal is Danny Robbins. Will Drillers get yet another overtake here at the start of lap 8 as they make their way around the first corner once again? You can see that almost like his team, I think, is trying to really push the car back and allow Danny Robbins in there. Maybe some real good maybe some team orders there in between those two drivers in order to make that overtake happen. Matthew Clip in amongst a serious sandwich right now, and this could really make things complex for him here in lap 8 of 36, Cam.
And one thing for Matthew Clip is that he's finally on a on a normal strategy. Normally he qualifies just outside the top 10 on an alternate strategy, but what can he do with these soft tyres? Currently in 10th position, so if he wants to make this work properly, he does need to get a few positions up the road. But it certainly seems the top few guys are spreading out quite a lot. David Kalaksai has now got almost a 3-second gap to George Chatsipantelis, and that is a very healthy gap indeed. That means he's got out of the undercut range, so if George Chatsipantelis wants to go for an undercut, he would not be able to get the lead. So Kalaksai is looking in a very good position here.
I think it goes back to what we were saying though, Cam. I think in qualifying, the fact that he was so clear in quali, he's now brought it to his race strategy now, and already has pretty much shut up shop. We did say if they did not make the overtakes in the initial lap or two, it can make all the difference. We now see Jacob Reed already all over the back once again. Well, it looks like Khan is all over the back of him as they make their way down the straight. And indeed, Ibrahim Khan looking for revenge here in the first corner. Indeed, he makes a nice sweeping move down the inside, boxes off Reed there as they make their way on the outset of that corner. Can Reed make the overtake back? I don't think he can. He's in serious trouble. No, I think he is. He's leveled up there with Ibrahim Khan as they make their way around the next left-hand corner into the right. And indeed, Khan trying to manage, a little bit of touch in there. But indeed, it's Reed. He's on top. He holds on to P4. Great battle in there from those two. Kept it clean. Just a straight tussle. That's what we like to see, Cam.
That is an awesome bit of racing between those two drivers. They gave each other just enough room, but also just enough room to also make it difficult for each other. But that was awesome racing there. But all they're doing at the moment is really losing time. They're almost 5 seconds off the back of Jasinski now, but it's still giving us some good entertainment and just showing that these two drivers can race wheel to wheel.
Certainly is, and I got to say, this is what we have come to see. It certainly has been something to certainly be impressed with. Just looking there, you can see Ibrahim Khan still fighting all over the back of Reed right now. Remember, these guys, though, still got to be wary of their tyre degradation, because like we said before the start of the race, this track at the Nürburgring, very testing on the rubber, so you've got to make sure that you manage the car effectively. And indeed, Ibrahim Khan going for a little bit of a ride there over the curb as he made his way through the NGK chicane, and in behind, that's allowed none other than Fletcher to come into play as well. So it certainly seems like Sergio Fletcher, who's made waves in this grid order. Naturally, we said we haven't seen much of him this season, but already out of the blocks, showing some real serious pace. And Sergio Fletcher coming to party, really. Cam, he's looking pretty positive right now.
Yeah, he's coming on the back of them, so that fighting is giving Fletcher an amazing opportunity to get into the top 5, but he just needs to sit there and wait to see what he can do. This second sort of middle part of the track is not really where you can always go for an overtake, so he needs to sort of be smart. And his teammate Blake Checkers has actually dropped off the back of them a little bit, so Blake started really good, got up into 5th place, but he's dropping off a little bit. We are on lap 10 now, 26 laps to go, so I wouldn't be surprised if people start pitting for a set of the hard compound tyres.
Where did the time go, Cam? Where did the time go? It's phenomenal. Amazing. We've seen plenty of action here. We've been very lucky to really see the battle and intense battling amongst the field here. Obviously, we've had a couple of DNFs, which obviously isn't ideal. Rainey and Garcia obviously out of the race. But Sergio Fletcher, though, looking really, really positive right now. Currently making his way up the field, P6 to his name, just under a second from Khan as we speak. And you can see he's already making the ground back. Khan, though, is not done yet with Jacob Reed. Naturally, Jacob Reed in P4 trying to hold back the moves here from Khan. And as they make their way around, Khan indeed must be suffering on those tyres. I've certainly seen him sliding around the circuit. Is indeed maybe time for a change.
So he's going for an undercut here, isn't he? He is going for an undercut, as well as, who's that? Blake Checkett, Stein Barbakov coming in as well. So these guys are all going for an undercut to try, and, well, they're going to go, oh, mediums.
That's interesting.
Mediums for 20. Oh, that could be a 2-stop for Stein Barbakov.
It will have to be a 2-stop, indeed, absolutely, and it certainly will throw up many question marks as to where Barbakov's intentions or where he's going to finish at the end of this Grand Prix. Certainly we'll have to wait and find out, that's for sure, as we can now see Jacob Reed now, who's pretty much got some clean air, and he doesn't have to worry too much about what's going on behind, but we got some damage occurring here, and a tyre is gone, and that looks like Inakone has actually sustained a little bit of damage there. I'm not sure whether he's actually out of the race or not, whether that was a glitch on our screens. But no, he is in fact out of the race. Drillers Esports down to no less than their minimal drivers now, because you've got Inakone on the grass, and that certainly looks like a DNF to me, Cam.
And that was with Ibrahim Khan, who's now spun. He's got massive suspension damage. Ibrahim Khan is going to be out of this race, or at least out of contention for this race, if he wants to get back to the pit lane. I'm going to try and now grab a replay of that to see what exactly happened, because quite a lot happened there with these drivers. So let's see if we can. Oh, it was actually before this. God, it was even before that. So there was contact with the two drivers. Yeah, they got stuck on each other in turn number 1. Their wheels were interlinked, and eventually that caused Ian Akone's wheel to come off. So that is really not what you want to see for Drillers Esport or Ibrahim Khan, who then went on to have a bit of a spin or something coming out of turn number 4. He must have, or maybe he was actually hit by one of the AFP cars. No, he lost it on himself and lost his front wing on one of the advertisement boards. So that has not been a good few minutes for those two drivers.
No, not ideal at all, and naturally that really puts a downward look on Khan's race, naturally looking to battle with Reed earlier on. Reed incidentally now moved up to P3, obviously still yet to pit as things stand. But also one to keep an eye on Kalaksai, who's already pitted onto the hard tyres. His strategy pretty much is to go to the end, I'd imagine, on that hard compound. He's now only 1.5 seconds behind Zaharov at this moment in time. Zaharov will not have DRS on the straights because he's over nearly 4.5 seconds behind Matthew Klipp as things stand. So the way things are pretty much laid up at the moment, Chas Pantelis currently in P1, Zielinski there in P2. Those two are leading the way as things stand, as we're now seeing Cham Pantelis there going into the pits now. So Zielinski now with open circuit will lead this Grand Prix, at least for the time being, subject to pit stops, as we now see Sergio Fletcher coming through into P4 as well. So very much a juxtaposition amongst this grid in comparison to where we were. And Chas Pantelis now, I'm not sure why he stopped there on the entrance, or whether that's just him leaving his grid spot, but he's just leaving the pit bay now and looking set to restart his race. But as things stand though, Reed moving up into P2, but naturally still a long way to go, Cam.
And Chas Pantelis now, he is about 4 and a bit seconds behind Kalaksai. So Kalaksai's done, yeah, absolutely brilliant bit of strategy there. But this pit stop face has opened it all up completely. Stein Barbakov is also quite a few seconds. Stein Barbakov is about 8 or 9 seconds behind these two drivers who've gone onto the hard tyres, but he's on the mediums. I cannot see for the life of me him getting 25 laps on the medium tyres. I think this is a 2-stop from Stoyan Barbkov, and I don't think it's going to work because he's got to catch up 8 seconds plus a pit stop on top of that. So I really think this is going to be not the day for Stoyan Barbkov, but who knows? We'll have to see if he can make something work.
This is not the day, certainly, for a 2-stop strategy, like you say, Cam, as we're now watching Blake Checkett going toe-to-toe at the moment with Pescutio, who's now in P10. So this is very much going to be a close nip and tuck battle, certainly, as they make their way towards what will be the start of Sector 3. And indeed, Blake Checkett's doing his best to try and close this gap. Currently, in between them, 3.5 tenths, nearly 4 tenths, or just over that now as they make their way down the next DRS point. Now, is this going to be a chance for him to make that crucial overtake as they make their way up towards the next corner? And indeed, Blake Checkett's dives it on the inside. Will he make it down at the chicane? Indeed, he does. A little bit of a slip and a corner cut there. Whether indeed he gets a penalty for that, I'm not sure. But he does take P10, at least for the time being. Subject to obviously that being looked at. Running extremely wide there is Pescutio, and that's going to allow Palasek to join the fray as well as he opens up his back flap now, making his way down towards turn 1. And indeed, will he make the move? No, not quite. 2 tenths separating him and Pescutio now in P10, but he's all over him like a nasty rash cam.
Yeah, Palasek, I think, is going to be sniffing some blood here. But yeah, Checkett went over the chicane. Yeah, I don't. It's hard to say exactly what would happen from that, because he did kind of make the move stick, but then couldn't quite get it slow down for the second apex. But either way, on track, he has made that move stick, and he has now got a bit of a gap ahead of him to try and use these hard tyres and potentially even catch up to Stoyan Barbkov. But Barbkov, as we said, is on those medium compound tyres and will be doing something a little bit different to the others. And just ahead of him is Jacob Reed. He stayed out even longer and also went onto the mediums. But because he went a bit longer, he might be trying a one-stop with that. But I think... Oh, someone's crashed. Oh, Danny Robbins has crashed. As well as Petr Palasek as well. Oh, what is going on here with Petr Palasek? I think there's been a crash. Or maybe 2 crashes up here at turn number 9. So Palasek is going to dive it down the inside of Cosmo. And that's gone for a spin. And is someone going to hit him on the apex? No, they are not. But that was one of the contacts. But in the end, Danny Robbins also went off track in that as well. So even more contacts happening.
Yeah, very, very devastating scene, certainly for Robbins. It's certainly not going to help his chances here today. He's now just over 4 seconds away from Chats Pantelis, who is now out of the pits on the hard tyres.
Chats Pantelis DNF.
We've lost Pantelis. That's absolutely unreal. I mean, he only just recently made a stop onto the hard, so that's going to be devastating for him. The strategy obviously has been literally burned. As you can see, the replay underway. He just made his way around that tricky right-hander, and I'm not sure what happened.
He disconnected.
I just saw him literally float off the circuit then. Obviously, that's a disconnect by the looks of it, according to us here in race control. But certainly not something you want to see. So that's Chats Pantelis out of the race, DNF. So he will not be figuring at the end of the race. So the top order already mixed up. As we can see, Sergio Fletcher is now your race leader, albeit he hasn't actually pitted. But Kalaksai in the net lead of the race because he's on hard tyres, as we now see Reed making a move on the inside. Jacob Reed pushing for all he's worth up against Frelick as he makes his way through the NGK chicane, and coming on the outset, he takes P5, looking in extremely good form. The medium tyres really working for him. Maybe he can go to the end of the race on that compound cam.
Yeah, I think because they've stayed out a bit longer, it isn't too bad. For instance, Fletcher as well, he's going to have 21 laps on the mediums, but then he did 15 on the soft, so that sounds a bit more reasonable. Whereas Barbkov pitted after only 10 or 11 laps, which means he's got about 25 laps or so to do on these tyres. And as you can see, he's only just behind Fletcher, so he's got to overtake him and somehow get an extra pit stop worth of time between them on this and his next stint. If he does go to the end on these mediums, I will be very surprised because he did pit very early, but who knows? Maybe he's got something up their sleeves. HM Engineering have been pretty good on their tyres. Oh, he's diving down. Oh, that's not where you want to go, the inside of turn 6. But he's thinking about it, and he knows that he needs to try and make up these positions.
Well, certainly Barbkov knows that he needs to get ahead of Fletcher ASAP because Fletcher has got the fresher mediums on, and he will have the quicker tyre option on at this moment in time. Naturally, Barbkov, as the laps go on, his will start to wear off. And like you said before, it might have been a little bit too early for him to pit when he did onto those medium tyres. So Fletcher certainly with the advantage here. And Fletcher might have just done himself a massive favour pitting the time he did on the mediums. Naturally, the way things stand, we're just under halfway at the moment in this Grand Prix. Obviously, 3 laps away from halfway as things stand. And already we're starting to see the numbers come up. Kalaksai, though, with the advantage. Naturally, the strategy working for him as planned, I would imagine. He pretty much kicked on and checked in and out, as people say about Lewis Hamilton in this race. He pretty much stamped his authority from the get-go, which really was no surprise, literally given the fact that he dominated in qualifying by 3/10 from the rest of the field. As you can now see, Jelinski now 7.5 seconds behind him as things stand. But let's not forget Reed, who's already pitted onto the mediums as well. He's in P3 currently as things stand and looking in good form as well for Drillers Esports. But the battle across the track, Riboli is now having a little bit of a move here on Zaharov. So let's have a little look down there, because naturally a lot of onboard action happening here. As you can see, just ahead of Riboli, Zaharov in P10, only 6/10 ahead as things stand.
And he's just come out of the pit lane, I believe. Zaharov just pit on the lap as well. So that is pretty good. He's going to have a nice set of tyres to the end of the race, is Dimitri. Because that is going to be only, I think, 19 laps he'll have to do on those hard tyres, which would be nice and easy to do. So that is going to be some nice points for the NRWO Esports team, as they going to be getting some more points. They've had a couple of points already this season, and with Danov Brentholm as well, they've had a couple of good performances, as we're now seeing also Sergio Fletcher, I think, getting past Frelik, and that's going to give Stoyan Barbkov an opportunity. But Frelik's going to stay out. He still needs to make a pit stop on his hard compound tyres, but if he wants the softs at the end, he might be out for another sort of 7 or 8 laps. So Stoyan Barbkov is going to need to get past him here, coming down the start, finish straight. Bit difficult with DRS for Frelik as well. Is he going to dive it down the inside of turn number 1? No, he's looking, but he's not quite making the move just yet.
Not quite close enough to make that crucial move on Frelik, though Barbakov certainly looks like a man on a mission right now, because he knows he needs to get past Frelik and ideally needs to try and close the gap on Fletcher. Doesn't want this car to get away, because naturally Fletcher with the advantage. Barbakov's really going to have to run the race of his life if he's going to have an impact on that top order. Indeed, he did, like we said before, pit very, very early onto those mediums, but ahead of him, Frelik, who's yet to pit on his hard tyres, currently occupying P4 as things stand. As we can see, just over 3.5 tenths of a second between Barbakov. You can see him swarming all over the back end there of Frelik. So Frelik's really got his work cut out to try and hold off the advances of this man, who's currently chasing all over the back of him, getting closer and closer to that raw blue, and he goes a little bit wide there. As you can see, Frelik just diving in onto the gravel, and indeed Barbakov sweeping on the inside, snaps the advantage, moves into P5. HM Engineering move up a spot. Stoyan Barbakov, a great move to take advantage of that little slip by Frelik.
That was amazing. He just took the opportunity, did it nice and cleanly, and managed to get ahead to defend with the Frelik getting the DRS as well. So I do wonder if Frelik's going to think about making a pit stop anytime soon. But this has meant that Blake Checketts has caught up to the back of them, and the car just behind him is Garnier, who is a lap down. So don't worry about him in terms of the running order. But while Frelik has the DRS, Checketts is going to be struggling a little bit. Interestingly, he keeps in 7th gear coming down into turn number 1. Decides that the straight is a little bit too short for 8th, but he's staying there in 7th place at the moment.
He is, and Blake Checketts still in P7, as you said. He's currently just 4.5 tenths, just over 4.5 tenths away from Frelik as well. So Frelik's really in for a bit of a nightmare run at the moment. Obviously, I'd imagine he's going to be looking to pit as soon as possible over the next couple of laps. Though we'll have to see and wait and see how that pans out. You can now see Checketts really starting to really rise to the occasion on those hard tyres that he's just recently put on. In behind as well is Robbins, who's trying to counter a recovery drive after that little incident earlier on. Though he seems to have managed it well and come back into the fray as such. He's only 1.5 seconds behind, and indeed trying to make a move on that Blake Checketts as soon as possible. And indeed has a look. As you can see, Clip had a look, should I say, as they make their way around now. And Danny Robbins really trying to stamp his authority and try and reclaim at least some of the damage that was done earlier on in the race. Though Checketts now 3 tenths or just under that now, near 2 tenths, 1.5 tenths behind Frelik. And Frelik has really got it all to do here, because he knows that Blake Checketts in the Apostino Force Polonia car is now making his way through. And indeed, Frelik goes into the pits for that change cam.
And what tyres is he going to go on? 16 laps to go. I would assume this is going to be a nice set of the medium compound tyres, the yellow tyres. See what he does when he comes into the pit lane. Yep, nice set of mediums for him. A little bit longer stop, actually. A little bit longer stop. He must have had some damage or something like that to repair, because that is normally about a 2.5 second pit stop, but that was a bit longer, which actually might ruin his strategy a bit. But he's 15th place at the moment. Look on that main straight. He's got no one behind him. So that's 1 point so far, and there's a group of cars ahead of him who are all battling, and he might be able to get involved with this when he starts to catch them up.
He will indeed. So a very good proactive pit stop there from Frelick indeed on the medium tyres now, and naturally his tyres will be far more proactive than that of the hards that he'll see in front of him. So we could see a real rise here from Frelick. So it'd be interesting to see what he can do now he's out on his new stint on his new tyres. Sorry, Frelick, not Frelick. Frelick's obviously in P12 on hards as well. Naturally, we're seeing Luca Frelick at the moment, P12, currently notched in behind Riboli. Riboli, we saw earlier, trying to make some serious moves earlier on, currently under pressure because it looks like Frelick is really starting to jump into this now, 3/10, and what a nice livery that is as well, the purple stripe livery, looking very smart indeed, just in behind there for the Ground Effect Sim Racing team. And he's trying to close the gap for all he's worth. 4.5 tenths currently separating as they make their way up towards the next chicane. Indeed, the DRS becoming active. No move can be made going into the final chicane at the NGK chicane. Coming up towards the Coca-Cola curve now. Very soon he'll have a chance to make it on the straight. Will he get that crucial move done as they make their way around the last curve? And indeed, he gets a better entrance and an exit off that last corner. And you can see he's now right in the gearbox and moves onto the outside of that being Riboli and Frelick. Diving in before the first corner, gets the move done. He's got the advantage, moves ahead. Can he close the book? Yes, he can. Moves up into P11. Great move from Frelick. He's going to be well chuffed with that, but here comes Gabriel. Joao Gabriel looking to have another tussle. Indeed with Riboli. Riboli having a bad day in the office here in Sector 1 of lap 21. As you can now see, he's under a huge amount of pressure of Gabriel, and Rusinak is also coming into play as well. What's going on here, Cam? It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, this track is proving really good to race with. It's you can keep side by side for a number of corners. You can give each other room. Some of the corners are actually quite wide on the entry, and a nice bit of racing there for Frelick to get past as well. So yeah, good racing from these guys in the Academy Series. And remember, this is the 3rd tier, so these aren't the best of the best, but they're still showing a good performance. And there hasn't actually been too many collisions with side by side action just yet. So that's good stuff.
No, and Joao Gabriel is very much on the gearbox of Frelick, but so is Rusinak. He's actually managed to really close the gap on the cars ahead of him. Gabriel obviously being held back, I think, a little bit by Riboli. That's allowing Rusinak to really join the party. He's only 2.5 tenths in behind right now, and he'll have every chance going into the next straight to make a move as well for Drillers Esports, who are looking in extremely good form. Joao Gabriel, in fact, comes into the pit lane, so that allows, obviously, Rusinak to go past. Riboli also coming into the pits. Obviously, the tyres coming a little bit worse for wear now. And this will also allow Frelick, who earlier changed onto the medium tyres, to get an opportunity to move above this pack of cars. And indeed he does. He's up into P13 and now chasing Rusinak. He's only just over 5.5 seconds away. So you'll have every chance of really closing that gap as well. But as we're looking further up the field as well, Robbins is also trying to make his way through. He's got Checkits ahead of him, 0.6 of a second separating those two, and they're both on hard tyres. They make their way around the next right-hander. You can see pushing and pushing all the time as they make their way up to the next left-hander. They'll very soon be tackling the Warsteiner curve as well, as you can see them sweeping around the right-hand side. Just ahead of him, you can see Checkits coming in closer and closer to the front end of that Drillers Esports car. And very soon you have to think that Danny Robbins is going to take advantage of this as they make their way around the NGK chicane into what will be the final corner, the Coca-Cola curve here in lap 23 of 36. They make their way around the Drillers Esports driver. Now starting to close the gap. Can he open up the DRS? Indeed, he'll punch it now as he makes his way past the markers, heading down towards the first corner. I think there's too much of a gap to be closed before the first bend. He cannot take advantage, at least for the time being. So it's going to be a case of just plugging into the back of Checkits and maybe taking his opportunity on the next DRS straight, which will be around the Advent Bogan camp.
Absolutely, that is where you really want to make your move into the final chicane. It seems that that is a very good place indeed, as we've now seen championship leader Matthew Tucson. He's got himself up into 1 point. Oh, but he took the medium tyres at his pit stop for his front wing, so he's going to have to come in again. And as I say that, he is coming in again. So I don't think Matt Tucson is going to be getting any points here today, or if so, he might only be getting 1 or 2 at best. And this is not good for his championship hopes.
Really unfortunate for all the Matthew Tucson fans out there who obviously predicted he would be up there at the start of this race. Obviously, it's all changing hands. You can see the updated driver standings right there. Kalaksai, the way things are standing, 81 points. Matthew Tucson in 74 points. Like we said before, the championship battle was so tight, and that's allowed Kalaksai to take hold of the driver's standings, at least for the time being. Remember, the next race is not until July 12th, so he'll be on top at least for the next few weeks. So that's going to give him a great opportunity. Barbakov still very much in the realms as well, currently in P3. And we're now back live with the action. Matthew Tucson coming out in P21. Outside the points, incidentally. Obviously, it's P15 and above to get points in this league. It's going to be certainly something to behold, as we now see Matthew Tucson going onto the grass a little bit there. Maybe
he's got issues, has he?
I think he has. He slowed down quite dramatically there. I'm not sure whether the car's got a problem.
He was letting Kalaksai through because Kalaksai has come and lapped him. He's lapped his championship rival. That is unbelievable. Matt Tucson has had an absolute nightmare of a race here at the Nürburgring. But look at Kalaksai, 8.3 seconds in the lead. He is running away with this. He has kept his qualifying pace. It is translated to his race pace. And he is doing such a good job now as he's getting past these back markers to put an even bigger gap on the cars behind.
Absolutely. Kalaksai checking in and checking out indeed. But let's not forget, he's got another 12 laps to do. And that in order to really succeed, he's going to have to keep it clean right through to the end. But Zielinski also having a great race, P2. Indeed, the track seems to suit him at this moment in time. I made comments and references to his races at San Marino and Silverstone being very similar in sort of structured tracks to that of the Nürburgring. And certainly Zielinski has been able to capitalise on that and really make his way up into P2. Reed currently in P3 as well, having a great race, or a great recovery drive indeed from where he was on the grid, and is currently 6.2 seconds ahead of Sergio Fletcher, who's in P4. So we've got a very good collective of drivers at the top end. And Sergio Fletcher, you just see him crossing the line there. And indeed, the back markers are now starting to be lapped indeed. Making ground as well, as we can see back there. Just looking further down, you can see Gabriel now, who's just come out the pit. He's only 5/10 in behind Furlick, who's in P15. João Gabriel on fresher tyres will have every opportunity to certainly make a move here. And he's got 2 cars in behind him, Riboli and Faroud, who've also changed onto their compounded tyres. So we're going to see a very, very certainly quick collective of cars between P15 and P18, Cam.
Yeah, these guys are getting really close for those final couple of points. And that is what we'd like to see, battling all the way down the field. It's crazy, actually, how much this sort of top 10 has spread out so much, but then they're getting really close as you get to the final points-paying position. So I do wonder which one of these drivers is going to come out on top. At the moment, it is Furlick with that final point. But as you say, these 3 guys behind are getting really close, and I think he's going to have a bit of trouble to keep on defending, considering he has no DRS ahead of him.
Absolutely. João Gabriel obviously just recently changed onto his new compounded tyres. He's just about half a second or just over half a second away from Furlick in P15. And that time gap hasn't changed much. Riboli in behind as well, pretty much on the same time gap, around about 5 to 4/10 of a second behind Gabriel in P17. And then in behind we got Farouk in pretty much the same time gap as well. So we've got a very well strung out final points paying position, as you said, Cam. We're now seeing Barbakov come into the pit lane. Those mediums did not last in the end.
Yeah, he's going to, I would assume now, go for a set of the soft tyres and try and get, well, some speed out of them to the end of the race. But that pit stop pretty much did nothing because he didn't gain any time on the cars ahead. So now he's going to have to gain a whole pit stop of time in just this stint alone. And I really don't think that's going to be too possible, as he only got 10 laps out of the tyres at the first stint, so even with a bit less fuel it might be a little bit easier, but those tyres are going to be worn by the end of the race, and I think this could have been a bit of a nightmare strategy for Stoyan Barbakov.
Certainly is. He's certainly going to have his work cut out to really sort of lay down a foundation on this race. I mean, obviously he'll finish within the points, but naturally I'd imagine he would have had higher anticipations on his mind. I would have thought he would have wanted to tackle the front grid spots, especially considering how quick he was in qualifying. But it just hasn't worked out that way. Obviously, the strategy did not work or really ideally work in the way that he wanted it to. We've only got 10 laps remaining here at the Nürburgring. And you can see there, Palasek, we've got 3 cars grouped together here, P8 to P10. As you can see, Babukov being one of them who's just come out the pit. Danny Robbins, though, also coming into play. He's coming in nip and tuck with Checkits right now. And we did say earlier that Robbins was making a little bit of ground and certainly having a great drive so far to try and really tackle Checkits, who's above of him right now. Currently just under 6 tenths into 5.5 tenths, should I say, as they make their way down towards the first corner. And indeed, you can see the back flap on that Drillers Esports car opening up there just to allow him to close the gap onto Checkits, who's ahead of him. And I think there was a little mistake made there, as you can see, just wide there. Babakov on those new soft tyres coming off the track. And I think he might be letting his frustrations get ahead of him there.
Let's have a look on the replay to see what happened. I think Storm Babkov is going to go for an overtake, and then something is obviously going to happen. Oh yeah, he's going to try and keep it round the outside. Contact was made. A bit difficult to see from that angle, but certainly contact was made. Storm Babkov went for a bit of a spin, slightly more contact as they rejoined as well. So once again, Babkov being in a little bit of contact and trouble. Not the first time this season. That is why he had the penalty for this race as well. So yeah, bit of a shame there, and he's got to now make up that time all over again.
Yeah, very bold manoeuvre indeed, and that means that he's now going to have to try and tackle Palasek once again as they make their way around the next sweeping right-hander. Babakov not having the ideal race, or certainly coating himself in glory here today in this race as he makes his way around the next, heading towards the straight now, towards the Michelin curve. And he's getting very close and personal to Palasek now. Those soft tyres certainly are working for him, at least for the time being, as they make their way around the Michelin curve into the Vorsteiner. Very soon the DRS will become active. He's going to have a chance to make a move as they make their way around Advan Bogan into what will be the NGK chicane. He goes for the switcheroo, going into the chicane, indeed, takes advantage. Oh, more handbags there at the very same chicane they spun out of earlier on, making their way around the final bend. Who's going to get the advantage? And certainly great show of tenacity there, indeed, from Palasek, who's doing all he can to try and hold off the impending Babakov, who is now looking to make a move on the paddock side of the straight now, heading down towards turn 1, and he gets it done into the Honkhagen corner. And indeed, the HM Engineering driver, taking advantage of those soft tyres, moves into P9, Cam.
Wow, there's definitely quite a bit of contact there. It's not the cleanest racing we've ever seen, but Babakov managed to make it work after a couple of attempts. And yeah, not the ideal racing, but still managed to make it work. And he's now got quite a few seconds. I mean, he's got 6 seconds to Zaharov, but then another 11 seconds to Matthew Klipp. I think maybe one more position is all that Babakov is going to have in him with only 7 laps to go. So not the best strategy here today, or the cleanest of racing. And he's really not giving his championship hopes the best that they could be.
Certainly a lot of question marks surrounding the performance. I mean, the strategy as well probably didn't work for him either. The one stop we have certainly seen, based on what Kalaksai's been doing, certainly paid off. Gielinski also following the same rules as well, as we now seen through. We got still, once again, this intoxicating battle going on towards the latter points positions. Rusinak, incidentally, also joining the fold. He is just round about 8 tenths off the pace. He's got soft tyres on. But he's about to join the party as well with Farut as well. Farut chasing Raboli, and Raboli's chasing Gabriel, and Gabriel's chasing Felix. We've got a very, very strong contingent of cars here looking to get into the points. And as they make their way up towards the NGK chicane, and you can see Rusinak looking, another spin there, almost like almost Babakov-esque going into that chicane, and he paid the price there. The Drillers Esports man Patrick Rusinak dropping back in the time deltas away from Farut, and in P17 that leaves him just over 8 seconds away from Farut now. So that's pretty much him out of the question at this moment in time for those final points positions. We're now riding on board there with Joao Gabriel, who's now making his way through, looking to try and close the gap on Furlick. Currently separated them is just about half a second, and as they make their way around, the HM Engineering man certainly looking to close the gap and get some more points here for the HM Engineering team. Joao Gabriel looking really, really positive at this moment in time. Can he close the gap even more, though? Because bear in mind, Furlick looking pretty strong on his medium tyres. And again, Gabriel's got to be wondering about Rivoli as well. He's got to be looking, well, keeping one eye open at least to what's going on behind him, because it could be very likely that Rivoli will take his chance, Cam.
Yeah, I think Furlick is... I don't know how he's keeping ahead of these guys, but maybe he's using too much boost or something like that, but he is doing a really good job. He's sat here for probably about 10 laps now, just defending away, and Gabriel not being able to get too close indeed. So he's looking good to get what would be 3 points for 13th position at the moment for Luca Furlick. So not doing too bad indeed, and doing a very good job. But the gap at the front has actually come down just a tiny bit. It's now about 6 seconds, so Jasinski has caught about 2 seconds, but I don't know if he's going to be able to catch another second a lap to get the race victory away. But certainly Kalaksai's lead is going and getting even smaller.
Certainly is. Whether that's Kalaksai just sort of laying off the pace a little bit just to conserve the tyres, or just conserve the car going into the final 6 laps, I'm not sure. But indeed, Jelinski really starting to lumberjack at those lap times now. 5.659 seconds separating him and Kalaksai as things stand. Obviously, if it stays like this, Kalaksai will retain the lead in the championship. Reed as well coming into play a little bit. He's in P3 and certainly trying to pull his way through the field. Currently P5 in the championship as things stand. So Jacob Reed able to move up into P5 ahead of Matthew Klipp, indeed, who was in P5 before. So a great opportunity here for Jacob Reed to hammer his authority on this grid as well. Remember, he won at Portugal and came second in Silverstone, and those have been his only finishes to date. He had a DNF at USA and a DNF at Azure, and didn't compete at Malaysia or San Marino. So he's only ever really, when he's finished, in the grid position. So you've got to fancy him to at least finish on the podium here today, Cam.
Definitely indeed, and Reed is one of those drivers who, as we mentioned in the warm-up session as well, there's been quite a few drivers this season who have been a little bit inconsistent. He's really been one of those drivers. He has the pace, he's able to do it, but he's just been a little bit inconsistent. As we now see Stoyan Barbakov, he's caught up. Wow, he's caught up those 6 seconds or so to Dmitry Zaharov. So that is looking good for this position. There is another 10 seconds for him to catch, but there's still 5 laps to go after this one. So if he can get past Zaharov, and on this lap especially, then that'll be pretty good for him catching down Matthew Klipp. Although Klipp is often quite a difficult one to overtake, but he does have the fresher tyres and he'll probably be able to make it work. So let's see what Stoyan Barbakov can do here as we come onto the back straight again.
Absolutely. Stoyan Barbakov at this time P9, and like you said, closing the gap. The delta time's really being crushed as things stand, chopping at that wood like it's no tomorrow. He's currently at this stage 3.5 tenths away from Zaharov, and indeed closing the gap, braking late, going into the NGK chicane, which worked out quite well for him. He's just about to round the final bend now, which is the Coca-Cola curve, heading into what will be the main straight. He'll have DRS going into this straight now as they make their way down the straight, heading into what will be turn 1, which will be the Honghagen bend as they make their way down the straight. Barbakov now making that move, going defensive is Zaharov. He goes in deep, and indeed holds off Barbakov. What a great bit of defending from Dmitry Zaharov, holding on to that P8. And Barbakov got pretty much bullied around that first corner, which is something he's not used to, I don't think. And I got to say, credit where credit's due. Zaharov really pulling out all the stops. He wants that P8 finish, Cam.
He absolutely does, and he's done a good strategy to get himself there, so you can understand why, especially for NRWO, who haven't had the absolute best results this season. And Barbakov's going to have to be a little bit more smart with the way that he's going to make an overtake work.
He certainly will, and it's going to take, I think, a little bit of racecraft in order to tackle this man, because he certainly seems like a man on a mission. Zaharov at this stage looking particularly quick, but Barbakov showing that he's no slouch either as he makes a move on the outside, on the right-hand side. Zaharov immediately tries to defend the position and does so impeccably. A phenomenal bit of defending from that man, and Barbakov has really got his work cut out, though the DRS has just become active. Can he make a move as they make their way around the Vorsteiner curve, heading into, around the Avron Bogen curve into the NGK chicane, and indeed Barbakov looking to try and find room. Indeed, a little bit overzealous going into that chicane, but Zaharov holding on to P8 like a man possessed. zest as they make their way around the Coca-Cola curve. Once again, the DRS becomes active. You can see Barbakov there, right in the wingspan of Zaharov, moving on to the outside as they make their way down towards the Hookhagen bend. And indeed, I think Barbakov might have the advantage. He shuts the door, takes P8. A phenomenal move. He did it when it counted. A great move by Barbakov. He moves up a spot, but credit to Zaharov for a great show of defending.
That was amazing by Stepan Barbakov. He just cut in after he got his car length ahead, which is amazing to see. And he's already miles ahead of Dmitry Zaharov as well. But I just noticed something. I think Sergio Fletcher and Jacob Reed are battling hard for this third position. So Jacob Reed might not get an easy podium position here. As Sergio Fletcher comes, he's going to go around the outside of the NGK chicane. We see a number of contacts here in the chicane, so he's going to have to back out of that one and try and work himself up to get the position down into turn number 1. Let's come around the final corner now. He's going a little bit wide. Oh, his rear tyre's giving up a little bit there. So he's not going to get the best exit, but he's actually there. He's close enough. If he uses a bit of a collie boost as well, he's going to have to go round the outside. Oh, no, he's going to switch to the inside. That's an awesome bit of manoeuvre by Sergio Fletcher. And now Jacob Reed. Oh, Jacob Reed's gone for a spin. Jacob Reed has over speed into that corner, and he has lost that position. Too much on the brakes. Locked the rear tyres, and that'll be Sergio Fletcher for his first ever podium if he can keep it there.
A desperate shame there for Jacob Reed. He was running so well. A great recovery try from him as well. But Sergio Fletcher has not disappointed the viewers here today. He's certainly outshone his tenacity. And we haven't seen much of him, like you say, Cam. But he's come here today, here at the Nürburgring, and put on such a great display. And certainly around a difficult circuit, that is certainly praise to behold. And I'm sure we'll see more of Sergio Fletcher throughout the season. He's got to be pleased with that. And that'll soon surely open the doors to a potential P3 finish. As things stand, we've got 2 laps remaining here, folks. Where's the time gone? And indeed, Kalaksai still very much hammering home the advantage. He's about 5.1 seconds in front of Jelinski. Although that time gap has shrunk, it hasn't shrunk anymore. And there's another incident.
Oh, this is ahead of Benjamin Jozinski as well. Manages to get through. It's Matthew Tucson, as you say, and I think it was Prosciutto as well. I'm going to get a replay of that one as they came into the chicane. They were battling all the way, and Matthew Tucson, this was only for 19th position as well, but what's Cosmo going to do? He's going to send it down the inside really late on the brakes. He's just going to hit the back of Matthew Tucson, and there's Jozinski coming along. Luckily, he got out of the way before Jozinski was there in a bad way, so good job for him for getting out of the way, but that was too late on the brakes on the first occasion.
It was certainly a very overzealous move. I don't think that it was really on at that time. I think the door had already closed, but as you can see, Jelinski managed to survive that potential damning bit of happening on the track there that could have taken him out of the P2 picture and opened the door once again to Sergio Fletcher. But indeed, Jelinski holding on to P2 as it stands. He's only
someone's crashed. Jacob Reed, I think. Jacob Reed's lost his front wing in turn number 4.
Oh my word, that is not going to help him at all. And that's allowed Robbins and Checkit to go through. Checkit's in P4, Robbins P5. Reed now without a front wing. He's going to be at the mercy of the pack behind him. As you can see the instant replay, he made his way around the next left. I've got to say, he looked to be a little bit shaken after that previous incident. And whether this was the cause and difference again, traction lost. Obviously the grip must be suffering on those tyres somewhere.
Yeah, he would have killed. I assume he's probably killed the rear tyres when he did that massive half spin into turn number 1, and he is going to be losing so many points here. This actually has quite big championship implications for him and cars around him, because he is going to be dropping down from those higher positions, and that has given Matthew Klipp and possibly even Stepan Barbakov is going to get past him as well. So that is we're already on to the final lap of the race actually. So Dave Kalaksai is leading the way, and Jacob Reed pitting on the last lap. That is not going to be good for his championship at all. It's Danny Robbins now. Can he make up a final position? Actually, he can't quite get close enough to Blake Checkit. Just enough to DRS, but not quite enough for an overtake.
Well, the way things are strung out at the moment, Farut is also battling or trying to close the gap on Riboli, but that gap has now increased to a second in P15 and 16. So it looks like the way things are currently strung out, Riboli's going to take that P15 spot. Subject to what happens at the end of this race, we now see Jacob Reed come into the pit lane. A really devastating show for Jacob Reed towards the end of this Grand Prix. Looked so promising earlier on, but we can't take anything away from Kalaksai, who has certainly been a phenomenal competitor here today. He rounds heading into the DRS section, heading up towards the Advent Bogan corner, into what will be the NGK chicane for the last time. Kalaksai, what a phenomenal bit of running here. Royal Blue Racing will be proud. They come through the NGK chicane, the Coca-Cola curve beckons. He rounds the right-hand bend. You can see the paddock on the right-hand side lights up. The Royal Blue Racing team look on in delight as David Kalaksai comes over the line in first place. A great victory indeed. He checked in, checked out. P1 for that man. Zielinski will bring it home in second place as well. A great race for himself. Sergio Fletcher here at the Nürburgring getting his P3
Oh, he
finish.
spun. He had a bit of a spin on the final chicane, but he's actually going to keep in third position. But he obviously went too deep or something. You can never, ever rest on your laurels here, but he manages to get third place.
I nearly felt guilty then for causing the commentator's curse. But Checkits crosses the line as well in P4. Robbins recovers and takes P5. A great race from Robbins, in fact. Matthew Clip rounds the corner as well, in for P6 by the looks of it. He's currently 10 seconds off Robbins, but crosses the line. He takes P6. Barbakov, he's had a very, very active race indeed. P7, a very good result considering the double pit stop. Zaharov, after that intense battle with Barbakov, finishes in P8. Frelich coming across the line in P9. Palasek will soon join him in P10. And then you've got Luke Zak in P11 currently for the time being. Makes his way around the next right-hander, rounds the final corner, heads across the line. He's going to finish in P11. Ferlich not far behind him in P12. Gabriel will round the final corner in P13. Riboli, P14. Farut in P15. Reed, after that devastating...
He lost his front wing again. He lost his front... Oh, unfortunately, he crashed into a car slowing down. But Jacob Reed lost his front wing again on that final lap. And he will not be getting any points in 17th. That is quite big for the championship standings for his sake. Anyway, Matt Tucson also down in 19th place, not getting anything. So the championship is going to be all over the place, as I'll give it a quick refresh so we get the updated results here.
Certainly will, but without question, our championship leader, David Kalaksai, certainly 81 points to his name. A great win indeed for Royal Blue Racing. Matthew Tucson in 74 points. Devastating race for him today. Benjamin Zielinski, he benefited from today's race. 70 points, P3 to his name as things stand. And he's going to be well chuffed with that. Stoyan Barbakov, after that very dramatic race on his account. P4 he currently is in the championship. Matthew Clip, P5. What a race for him. Managed to bring it back. Danny Robbins, a great finish for him as well for Drillers Esports. Jacob Reed, after that devastating show, losing his front wing yet again on the last lap. P7 in the championship. Devastating performance. Drops him down 2 places, or 1 place, should I say, behind Danny Robbins. Peter Palasek, or Petr Palasek in P8 on 42 points for Drillers Esports. Dmitry Zaharov, very respectable race for him today, 33 points. Jan Katu in P10, 32 points to his name. Level on board with Blake Checkits in P11. Thomas Ahimarosa in P12, sorry if I got that wrong, 31 points to his name for Royal Blue Racing as well. And they're your top 12, at least for the time being. But I got to say, very dramatic happenings going on in that race, Cam.
Yeah, that was quite stunning. David Kalaksai led the way the whole way, and he just went off into the distance, had the pace, and that once again showed how unpredictable it could. The Academy Championship has been. This race just seemed to open out quite a lot. A lot of the other races have been really close, but today it opened out quite a lot, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of this when we get to the next race for the Academy Series, which will be the Dutch Grand Prix, round 8 of the season. There's only 3 races left in the season already, as we have a 10-round championship here for the 2020 season. And the 12th of July is the date for that one. But that is not all the racing left today. We still have the Pro and the World Championship races coming here later today on this YouTube channel as well. The Pro Championship will be getting underway from 10 past 4, which is just under 1 hour's time. And then the World Championship will be getting underway at 6:40, which is another couple of hours after that. But I think, George, that is pretty much all the action here from the Academy Series.
It is indeed, and I will see you later on for the Pro Series. I'll be back at 10 past 4 indeed. I hope you're all having a great day and a great afternoon. I hope you all enjoyed the stream as well. It's been a pleasure calling this auspicious event here for my first race at FSR. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by and watching. I'd like to thank Cam as well for being alongside me, commentating this race indeed. Please obviously leave a like and a subscribe, folks. It's been an absolute pleasure having you live on stream with us here today. We'll see you later on at 4:10. Hope you'll be there, and we'll see you next time for more Academy action at Zandvoort on the 12th of July. But without any further ado, thank you to all the sponsors, IMB Raceway, SimLabs, and 3D Wrap. But from us here at FSR, it's been a pleasure. Goodbye.